Hi, I'm so excited. Welcome back. Okay, so this is my first official vlog, I guess you could call it. Um, yeah, I'm excited. So I just wanted in today's video to go over a few things, just some stuff that's been happening with my books and things like that. And so first off, I want to announce, I don't know if you've seen the posts and stuff, but April 7th, I am revealing new covers for my entire Never series, which includes the books Never Forsaken, where is she? Never Forgotten, Never Forfeited, and Redeemed. So these are going to have all new covers. The only one that's not going to change very much on the front is Redeemed. I am in love with this cover. This is my favorite, my husband's favorite cover of all my books. And so I'm just going to change a few little things. But the back is going to change especially. So these are going to be from front to back, complete cover changes. I am so excited. I've also done some reformatting in them, so the books are going to look a little different inside, but it's all the same content. Nothing's been changed, nothing's been removed. It's just, they're going to look so much better. Yeah, so look forward to that. April 7th, mark your calendars. I'm waiting for, I need to order the final proofs. And so as soon as I get those in, I will do the video and set it up for a premiere, and then you can go ahead and show up and it'll be fun. All right, so that's April 7th. Okay, so there's been some changes to the way I do my books. You know, as a writer, it's good to learn and grow, and my writing process has evolved over the years from not plotting at all. With my first book, I didn't really plot ahead of time. I plotted as I wrote, and so what I would do, that's why it took me so long to write it, I would just, how do you say it? I would just write until I got tired of writing, and then I'd go back through and write down, okay, so I introduced this character here, and I did this here, and I need to remember to include this here. And so, that's how I wrote the book. It was kind of a mess. It was a mismatch, but I think in the end, it all came together beautifully, and I'm in love with that story. And then by the second book, I started watching YouTube videos on how to write, because I thought, you know what, I really want to learn a better way to do this, because I don't want this next book to take as long as the first book. And so I watched some YouTube videos, I found some really helpful channels, and I began to learn my craft. And so over the years, I think with every book, I've gotten more streamlined as to what I like. And so I know some people like to do no plotting, or they're called pantsers. They just write by the seat of their pants and see what happens. And that's kind of what I was. But I didn't want to be that, because it was such a hassle for me to do that. And so, yeah. So by now, I have totally changed some things. My outline is no longer as rigid as I tried to be in the last two books. And it's kind of a little looser. And I am going to make a video that will explain it completely. I've created my own, based on people like Sarah Cannon over at Heart Breathings, and Abby Emmons, and Alexa Dawn, and the No Nonsense editor, and I think that's there. There's probably some other ones, Brittany Wang. I don't know. I've just watched a lot of videos, and so I've gone through and consumed a lot of their free downloads, and that has helped me tremendously. If you are interested in them, you should head over to their sites, and you'll have to sign up for their newsletters, which is perfectly fine. I love their newsletters. They're fun and witty, informative. But Yeah, and so for a while there, I was using mostly Abby Emmons and Sarah Cannon's plotting structures. And while I love that, with each book, I realized that there was a lot of their stuff that I wasn't using. And so for me to print out those papers, it was kind of a waste of paper for me personally because I wasn't using them. So I set out to create my own set of plotting notes, outline notes and stuff like that. And so it's a mishmash of a lot of different things, and so I did. And so I have recently finalized my plotting, and this new book that I will be announcing in a few minutes, the title to, I am using my way of plotting, and it has just been awesome and amazing, and I am doing so much better. So that's where I am with my writing. For those of you who are writing, don't be afraid to try new things. That's how you learn. That's how you grow. You try new things, and if it doesn't work for you, no big deal. Try something else. Try until you figure out what works for you, and then move on from there. And be willing to be flexible, because what works for you now may not work for you in a year or 3 years or 5 years or even further. And so always be open to change, to changing the way you do things, because that's how you keep your writing fresh and fun, is by just experimenting with how to do it. And also, if you're struggling with concepts like plot structure, things like, what do you mean by plot point 2? What do you mean by the hook? What do you mean by the black moment? Do some research. YouTube is really good, or just Google whatever you want, and you'll get a lot of videos, and you'll have to sift through some that are kind of wacky. I've seen some wacky videos, but generally the people out there who are creating these types of videos really want to help you learn and grow in your craft. And so don't be afraid to change what you do and how you do it, and don't be afraid to look for improvements, because as a writer you should always be striving to improve yourself. If somebody criticizes your work, don't react with a knee-jerk reaction. I know when I first started, I had a hard time with that, because as I've mentioned before in my videos, I'm a people pleaser, and so somebody would tell me something and it would just throw me into a depression, and then I'd be second guessing myself, and trust me, you don't want to go down that path. And so nowadays I've learned to kind of roll with it, and if someone says that they don't like my book and they give me a reason why, and I evaluate it, and I ask myself, is this constructive or is this just ranting? And so you can often tell in the comments if somebody's actually read the book. I actually had somebody tell me once that I needed to put more gospel in my book, that it was really weak, and that kind of hurt, because I poured so much of myself and so much of the gospel, and I fine-tuned it, and I put exactly what, and I don't know, as a writer who writes romance but also writes about faith, that kind of threw me for a loop. And so for a while there, I kind of struggled with that, because it was someone that I know, and it was just hard. And then I found out, like a year later, that they had never read my book. They'd never read any of my books. And so immediately I was like, pfft. And I've been struggling with this this entire time, all these months. I've been struggling with self-doubt and recriminations and depression and being upset about this. And this person has never even read one of my books. I was like, forget it. I'm not dealing with that. And so that was kind of my turning point. I decided that I will be polite to people who give me their opinion, but you know, you have to take it with a grain of salt. And you have to know whether they're genuine, if they've read your book or not. Whatever place they're coming from, you have to understand that their opinion doesn't mean that your book is bad. It just means that it didn't fit for them. And if you find out that they've never even read one of your books and they're criticizing it, immediately call them out and say, look, until you've actually sat down and read one of our books, you have no right to say anything to me at all. And so just blow it off, move on with your life, and don't let that opinion suck you down into depression about your self-worth and your ability as a writer. Because it's tough enough trying to get your book out there to be worried about what people think so heavily that it cripples you as in your writing craft. And so I just want to encourage you. That was a little extra thing that I threw in. I wasn't going to go over that. And so, yeah. And so part of that, that change that I've done also is, and I never thought that I would like doing my writing this way, but over the last few weeks, I joined Sarah Cannon's writing community on Facebook, and they do a lot of like little retreats where they do writing sprints and they go places. Like I think this last one was in Thailand, and it kind of intrigued me. And I've tried writing sprints before with people with live writing sprints, and you know, I'm not a writing sprint, live writing sprint person. I find myself distracted when I have somebody on camera, a person typing their own story, and then I see the chat, and yeah, it's not good for me. So I will probably not be going to those just because for me personally, it's a distraction. I can't handle it. But it did give me an idea. So there's, on YouTube, you can find a lot of live streams, and I found one, well, my husband and I found one before we moved to Maui in 2020. We found one, it's a Maui cam, and it's set up at the Ka'anapali beach, and it's from somebody who owns a condo in the condominiums there. They've set up this cam on their, I don't know what floor it is. It's got to be over five floors, probably 6 or 7 floors up, or higher. And all it is just a cam that shows this one stretch of beach the entire time. And it's on 24 hours a day. And of course at night it's not that much fun because it's dark. But you can watch the sunrise and the sunset and then the beach in between. And so I love that. It's just so soothing and relaxing to me. So there's no sound. So I started putting that on, and I like listening to instrumental music or music that I don't know the words to, because then my brain doesn't follow it so much. At least I thought. And so on Pandora, I found a couple of Hawaiian radio stations. One is the Hawaiian Island Breeze Radio, and the other one is the Ukelele Lady Radio. It's not ukulele, it's pronounced ukulele. The Ukulele Lady Radio, and I turn one of those on, and I do full screen on my little screen for the beach, and I write. And I have found that has been so helpful, because you know, when you're writing, there's times when you're typing away and you've got thoughts streaming out of your head, and you're like, go, 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 go. And then it kind of slows down, it pitter-patters off, and you sit there staring at the screen going, now what am I going to write? Now what am I going to write? And so I have found that just glancing down and watching the beach for a while, listening to the Hawaiian music in the background, and I turn it on real low so that it doesn't interrupt my concentration, but so that it's just like a background noise. And I have found that to be so motivating. All it takes is about 5 minutes or so of staring at the waves coming in, watching people swim. And I go back to my writing, and I'm like, ooh, the words are flowing again. So maybe you could try something like that if you're stuck in your writing. I would encourage, and I actually will link the Maui Cam below, and let you write down the Pandora Stations for you if you want to follow it. And as a little side note, it's whale season right now in Maui, and so I'm not kidding you. The other night I was typing, and it was probably about, I don't know, I was working late here. It was like 8 o'clock, 8:30 here, which means it's about 5:30 there. So it's just, well, no, maybe I was about 7:38, and so it was like 4:30, 5 o'clock there. And so the sun is starting to go down there, and I saw whales, a group of 4 or 5 whales off the shore, and I saw them coming out of the water. They didn't do a full breach, but they would like come up and come down, splash. I saw their spouts. I'm not kidding. I saw whales from my Maui Cam. And I was so excited. I loved it. And so if that's something that would excite you, oh, you got to try it. It's amazing. You never know what you're going to find. There's also times when, because they have it set up on their patio railing, birds fly in and they poke their heads in front of the camera and look around. And so it's just amazing. I love it. And so that has totally motivated me. I've gotten more work done in the last couple of weeks than I have in a long time. And so if you're like me, you like visual things, but you don't want to be distracted, turning on a live stream, if you're not into the beach, find something else that's relaxing. Like they have live streams, I'm sure, of forests. I've even seen, if you're not into Maui, I've seen live streams of beaches in Thailand, and I think Thailand and Japan, I think, or I don't know, Philippines, I don't know. There's other beaches out there. So if you're not into Maui, you can always find a different beach and then find music to correspond with it. For me, this is perfect because my new book. All right. So we all know the sad tale of my NaNoWriMo project, Neptune's Folly. It's not there, but I did have another book idea, and so I have been writing this book for a couple of weeks, and I was going good. I got to about chapter 5. I was at 10 to 15,000 words, and I took a couple days off because I had to do some other things, because writing is unfortunately not all my life. It would if I could, but I have other things that I have to do. So I took some time, I took a couple days off, and when I take days off, when I go back to a manuscript, I always go back and reread what I've written. And so I reread it, and I was like, the idea is strong, the premise I like, but the actual writing, now the writing wasn't bad, I have to admit, I rather liked the writing, but the way I wrote it, it came off, because it's a romance, and it came off a little cringy, and I was like, nothing indecent or anything like that, but just cringy, just the level of the flirty and stuff like that. And it's just into the, 5 chapters, and I was like, I'm not feeling it. I don't like this. This is not where I want. It was going in a direction that I did not want it to go, and I thought, okay, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to rework the first chapter and see if I can salvage it. And I did the first chapter, and I still wasn't liking it. And so I took a day off. And from the beginning, I had always thought about doing it, because I was doing it in second person POV. And I had always had this idea that this book should be written in first person POV. And I wasn't sure that I really wanted to do that, because I've never written first person POV, which is point of view for those of you if you're not a writer. I've never written first person point of view. And so basically that's using the pronouns I, me, myself. And second is like we, she, they, she, her, him, stuff like that. And so I have tried to write first person before, and I never liked it because it just didn't sound right. And then there's the other issue of, if I write first person POV and it's completely from the perspective of this one character, how am I going to get all the other characters that have other perspectives represented clearly? And so I know I've said this, I'm just going to say, okay, so I read author Brittany Wang's books on Wings of Ash and Dust, and it's totally written the first person POV, and the way that she wrote it really spoke to me because she was able to, and I know I've already done a book review, I'll link that down below if you want to know more about her book, but just to say her first person perspective really inspired me with this book. And so I decided, what the heck, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna publish it, and I'm gonna give it a try. And so I sat down one night and I wrote, and at first it was a little awkward, but then I caught the swing of it, and now I am about, well, as of writing this book, I'm about 3 chapters in, close to 5,000 or 6,000 words, actually 7,000 words, and I'm loving it. I'm loving it from this character. And so yeah, so my new book is set in Maui, of course, which is why it's so perfect for my Maui Cam writing stuff. It's set in Maui. It's a little different than my other books because it's more focused on the romance this time. The other ones are romancy, but they're not, there's like several different romances in there. So this one is focused between 2 people, and yeah. And so I'll be doing more vlogs, and I will talk about my process and everything about that with this book. But today I wanted to announce the title. For those of you who are in my newsletter, I've already announced the title, so you got a sneak peek of that. I'm so glad that you've signed up. The title for my new book is called Love in Lahaina. I know, not a very difficult one. And the tagline, let me see if I can remember what the tagline is love doesn't have an age limit. What do you think? Woohoo! I like it. Okay, so I'm just going to give you a brief little snippet of what it's about. This is an age gap romance, meaning that one person is going to be 10 to 20 years older than the other person. And normally in books like that, the older person is the man, and he usually falls in love with a girl who's like half his age. But this time I'm flipping it, and the woman is actually the older one, and she falls in love with a younger man. And yeah, so the main characters are Jenna and Daniel, and they are right now at this point in the book, they've just met, and they're starting to realize that they like each other. So it's the first beginnings of the romance. And so there are going to be some major upheavals in the near future for them. But yeah, so my book is Love in Lahaina. Love does not have an age limit. And so that's my announcement. Tell me what you think. Yeah, I'm in love with this book. This book is coming along so great. All right, so I think that's about covers it for today. I hope you enjoyed this. Remember, that April 7th, join me here on YouTube for the cover reveal for the Never series. Also, there is going to be a giveaway, which I will announce later. Now, if you sign up for my newsletter on my website, then you will receive the announcement ahead of time. And so, yeah, I think that's about it. I've got to get busy doing some more writing today, and happy writing, people. Love you. Bye.